Hi, and welcome to News Now. I'm your host, Maribel Carvajal de Salazar. Today with us, we have Diane Ekman. She's the Assistant Director of the Belmont Health Department. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Diane, rats seems to be on the rise. Why?
That's a great question. It's definitely something that's a big topic of discussion right now with residents. What we would say is it's really a typical, kind of the typical seasonal pattern that we're seeing at this point in time. Doesn't seem to be more rats than usual this year, but it's definitely the time of year where residents tend to see the most rat activity due to a variety of factors. So we're definitely seeing that increase now.
And what are the common signs of a rat problem?
That's a great question. So the most common signs that folks are most likely to see with rats is just things like, repeated rat sightings in an area. Residents might see burrows, in properties, and that would be, it's like a hole in the ground that's about 2 to 4 inches in diameter, and they usually tend to be kind of clustered together. Things like rat droppings may be seen in an area, and they're 3/4 of an inch to an inch in length, and they kind of look like they're kind of a sausage shape is a good way to describe them. Some other signs would be, rub marks along walls or fences or foundations, and even seeing deceased rats as well.
What should a resident do if they see any of these signs?
So if a resident sees any signs of this type of activity, either on their own property or maybe a nearby commercial property, there's a couple of different things they can do. If it's their own home and they feel confident that there's the ongoing activity there, so maybe they see rat burrows on their property or droppings, we would encourage those residents to go ahead and call a professional pest control company and work with them to establish a plan to provide treatment for their property. If residents are not sure they're seeing something that maybe they're concerned about on their own property, they're just a little bit suspicious, or maybe they just heard a neighbor say, hey, I happen to see some rats around and I saw one run through your yard, and they're just concerned, they can always give us a call, and we're happy to come out, take a walk around their property, talk with them about what things that we see that are indications that maybe there are rats on their property, or maybe just some things that we see that might be a good attractant for rats.
And why do you think this is due to seasonal or is constructions? Why?
So this time of year, we tend to see more rat activity. For the most part, it really has to do with the amount of food sources that are available at this time of year. So we tend to think of the most typical things as being like trash is an important food source, but there are lots of other food sources that are available right now. Things like vegetable gardens can be a food source for rats. Folks that compost can be a food source for rats, particularly if it's not done carefully. Folks that have bird feeders out, even things like folks that have pets, if they have dogs that go to the bathroom in the yard, that waste isn't picked up, that can even be a food source for rats. And those are all things that we tend to see more of at this time of year. There's more folks outside, they're grilling, things like that. So there's just more food sources available for them. And that's really what drives the increase at this time of year.
Are they in a specific area or everywhere?
So we certainly receive rat complaints from all over town. They do seem to be more common in the areas of town that are more densely populated, which makes sense in that there's just more food sources. Those food sources are more dense in those areas as well. But we certainly see them all over town.
And what is the town doing to help solve this problem?
So there's a few different things that the town does to try to ameliorate this as best we can. One of the things that we do in the health department is we do a lot of work around education, trying to help residents and also business owners understand, what are the things that lead to rat activity in the area, help folks identify when there is an issue and figure out how to resolve it. So that's a really big role that we play. We also take enforcement action, particularly with businesses, if they're having trouble with maintaining their trash properly or, not providing the pest control that they need to provide, things like that. So we play that role as well. And the town also, through DPW and facilities, provides pest control for like the schools and the parks whenever there's an issue there.
Diane, what can the residents do if they are renting or owning the house?
So for residents that are renters, if they see anything that's concerning to them, we would definitely encourage them to reach out to the property owner and let them know about that issue. For residents that are property owners, if they're seeing a problem and again, they feel confident there's activity, they should reach out to pest control. If they're not sure, they can always give us a call. We're happy to come take a look. If they're seeing activity in the neighborhood, one other thing that we often suggest is for folks that have relationships with neighbors, it's a great idea to just go out and talk to your neighbors and just say, hey, I saw a rat, running across the street on this date. Have you guys seen anything? A lot of times when there's, especially in a residential neighborhood, a lot of times when there's activity, that's really where we start to get a good picture of what's going on, is when the neighbors all start talking to each other. For folks, if they have a concern about another property, they can always reach out to us about that too. And we can try to, have that conversation, provide that education to that property owner as well.
Thank you so much, Diane. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think the main message that we would like to try to help folks to understand is that, in the densely populated area that we, live and work in, unfortunately, there's not any way to completely eliminate rats. I think most of us would like it if that were the case, but it's simply not feasible. But as a community, we can do a lot to really minimize the amount of rat activity in our area. And it really is a community effort. We all have to work together towards that goal.
Thank you, Diane. And please remember, spreading rat poison is harmful for wildlife. Call professional pest control. That was it for today. I'm your host, Maribel Carvajal de Salazar. See you next time.
If you like biking and care about social justice and the environment, Bikes Not Bombs 35th Annual Bikeathon is the event for you. On Sunday, September 11th, riders will depart from Stony Brook Field in Jamaica Plain and ride on 10, 30, 50, or 100-mile routes. There will be rest stops, food, and route markings along the way. A fantastic lunch and live music will be provided after the ride. You are helping Bikes Not Bombs use the bicycle as a vehicle for social change in Boston and throughout the Global South. For more information and to register as a rider or volunteer, go to bikesnotbombs.org.